In 2017, I read an article called The 3 Levels of Conversation. It was a blog article on Art International's website, and it described information, informational level, the personal level, and the relational level. And it was at this relational level that I noticed a spark, kind of like a bubble up of excitement. Because in this blog article, there was an example dialogue between 2 people that were sharing information. And as they went deeper, they started talking about what it was like to be with each other in that moment, in that shared space. Being with you, I notice my feelings, my physical sensations. And it felt that there was a whole new world opening up in the way that we can communicate with one another. And I want to walk us through those 3 practices. It's like a map. It's like having a map that gives you the tools you need to direct the kind of conversation you want to have. Have you ever found yourself driving somewhere that you've been before, but you load it into your navigation GPS just in case you take a wrong turn, just as a backup? Having a map to guide you through levels of conversation can be just like that. Michael Porcelli, who was an early adopter of authentic relating, wrote about this practice of consciously moving through 3 levels of conversation. And he said, through ongoing practice, you'll feel a greater sense of being yourself, comfortable in your own skin. You'll express yourself more genuinely. You'll experience a growing sense of inner peace, free from needless guilt, embarrassment, or shame. Others will understand you more often as you communicate with greater clarity. You will more consistently convey the impact that you intend. All 3 levels are necessary. They each serve a purpose. And so the informational level, while it's factual, it's data points, it's news, it's how you might get directions to go somewhere. It's telling somebody what you had for breakfast or how you prepared your dinner. Informational level is biographical data. Imagine being at a social event or a party or a mixer and someone's asking you where you live or where you grew up or how you like to spend your time. Informational level might be considered small talk. It's a very important foundational level of information that allows you to know a person a little better. When we move into the personal level, we've already got some examples of how that brings up emotions for people. Emotions, they might be feeling sad or happy or angry or resentful or excited or nervous. And they're telling you a story because they want you to know this about them. And it was in studying this personal level of communication that I learned one of my greatest lessons that authentic relating has taught me. And it's a lesson around emotional mapping. And I'd love to explain what that means. So if I had a friend sharing with me, Sheri, I feel really upset, this dreamboat of a date that I just had, and they haven't called me back. And when I hear that, I interpret that information as, oh my gosh, my friend feels rejected. And then I relate to the feeling of being rejected. And because I want to create connection with this friend, I then launch into a story about a time when I felt rejected. Now it's about me. But this friend was just telling me about their heartache, about a time when they were upset. And I took that as an invitation to make an assumption that her rejection is just like my rejection. Oh, I know just what you mean. I've been there. Let me tell you about it. Now, when that happens, we moved into disconnection. Maybe I didn't notice it at the time. But this friend isn't getting their needs met by hearing about my story. This friend probably wanted me to lean in and give them some empathy and get their world. What is their experience of this like? How can I be closer to them in being with them in what this is like right now? That's what happened for me when I learned about this personal level of communication. When people share their feelings with you, what can happen is we can feel uncomfortable. Maybe we don't know what to do with their emotions. And how this showed up for me is I used to think it was my job to fix or change the person. And I'm going to do that by telling about my experience and trying to pivot the attention away from their pain, away from their upset. And what that does is it gives them a message that there's not space in our friendship for me to be with you in your upset or your afraid or your loneliness. And that was huge for me. It's not my job to fix or change an emotion that someone else is having. At the relational level, as we drop in deeper into connection, my job is just to make space for this person to have whatever experience they're having and let them know that they're not alone, that there's room for that. And in there, we can find some comfort together. We can find some shared space of connection.
So what would you find would be the best thing to say then? Like you said what you said, but then if you could go back in time and do a redo, what would you say instead? Because I have done this, and I realize I've done exactly what you've done.
Yeah. So thank you for the question, and it is the biggest pivot that I've been trying to make in my life. So what I do is I don't assume I know what that experience was like for them. So I ask, how was that for you? How are you feeling that dreamboat date didn't call you back? What's that like for you? And then they'll say more. And I might say, what's that like to share it with me? How does that feel in your body? Are you having any physical sensations, or what are your thoughts as you share this with me, sitting with me here now? So inquire more about their world. And my opinion about what happened to them is kind of irrelevant if the point is to deepen the connection and have a more intimate relationship with the people that we care about. It's to get their world. And we do that by inquiring what it's like right now for you to share this. Some of the best phrases to begin a sentence at the relational level is to say, I notice. Or I imagine. When I said to Anita, I imagine that you might feel joy to see your daughter smile. Is that true? Then she can reveal more about what that's like for her. We could also say, you seem. You seem tired and uninterested in this conversation. Is that true? Like, wow, what would that be like? Rather than making up a story about what it's like to be in connection with this person that you might be talking to. If you see them looking away or fidgeting with something, maybe you're telling yourself a story that they're not interested, that they don't care about you and what you're sharing. So what's it like to just pause and say, I notice that you're looking away. I notice that you're fidgeting. And I'm making up a story that you might want to talk about something else. Is that true? When I learned about these practices, it empowered me to never have a dull conversation ever again. actually do something about it. I can actually pause and say, wow, it sounds like you're telling me about something, this. What I really want to know is, why is that important to you? Why does this matter to you? Why do you care about that? Because I really want to feel connected to you. And it will help me to feel connected with you if I know why this story matters to you. And now I get a peek at their values. And when I have a sense of someone's values, that's a core place that I can connect with them. And the idea here on relating authentically isn't to have my beliefs be your beliefs. It's to see you in yours and want you to see me in mine. And that's the power of this work. There was something else that I wanted to share before I close. And that is that in my enthusiasm to practice this work, it's backfired. I've made mistakes. In my desire to get to that deeper level, to get into the juicy stuff and feel really connected, I've been at a party and I've forgotten all about the informational small talk and how important it is to build safety and trust. And I've just gone right into tell me something really meaningful about your day, or what's something you're really passionate about, or what's it like to be with me right now at this party? And I've received just deer in headlights. And I remember a very specific event that I was at pre-COVID, and I'd been practicing this work for about a year. And I was still stumbling. Some of the language feels new to say I notice, or I imagine, or you seem, or right now being with you, I'm feeling. It might seem awkward at first to try these things out. That's why they're a practice. It's just using them. And in the repetition, it becomes a little smoother as you attune to yourself and as you attune with others. So I've definitely had some trial and error here. Getting someone's world is a way of following your curiosity and clarifying your understanding. That's the part where you might say, I imagine, ... is that true? That's clarifying your understanding of the way the person is actually feeling. You can open yourself to an empathic connection. This can give you a sense of what it might have felt like for you if you had had the experience that they've shared. Human beings share intimate capacities for empathy and understanding. And I believe that we can cultivate these with practice. Thank you for your time and attention today. Really appreciate it.
Thank you.